A young woman sits in the cockpit of a passenger plane at 30,000 feet when both engines suddenly die and every system fails, leaving her alone with 200 lives depending on her next decision in complete silence. This is the true story of how Captain Maya Singh turned the worst nightmare in aviation into one of the most remarkable survival stories ever recorded. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Maya wakes up at 4 in the morning like she has done for the past 6 years. She brushes her teeth, ties her hair into a tight bun, and puts on her captain's uniform. The 4 golden stripes on her shoulders still feel heavy sometimes, not because of their weight, but because of what they represent. She is 28 years old and one of the youngest commercial airline captains in the country. Her apartment is small but organized. Everything has its place. Her flight bag sits by the door, packed and ready. She checks it anyway. Manuals, identification, licenses, a bottle of water, and a granola bar. She does not eat breakfast at home. She will grab something at the airport. The drive to the airport is quiet. The city is still sleeping. Streetlights flicker as she passes. She thinks about her father. He was a pilot, too. He taught her to love the sky before she could even write her own name. He would take her to the airport when she was a child, and they would watch planes take off together. He would point at each one and tell her stories about where they were going. She wanted to be just like him. When she was 17, he died in a car accident. She almost gave up on flying. But then she remembered his words. He told her that the sky does not care who you are or where you come from. It only cares if you are brave enough to face it. So she studied harder than anyone else. She worked 3 jobs to pay for flight school. She slept 4 hours a night for years, and she made it. She became a captain. But the journey was not easy. Not at all. Flight school was brutal. She was one of only 3 women in her batch of 40 students. The others looked at her like she did not belong. Some instructors doubted her abilities. They made her prove herself again and again. Every test, every simulation, every flight. She had to be twice as good to be considered half as capable. But she did not give up. She could not. She had promised her father. She had promised herself. She arrives at the airport and parks in the crew lot. The terminal is buzzing even at this hour. Passengers line up at check-in counters with luggage stacked high. Security guards yawn and sip coffee from paper cups. She walks past them with her head high and her shoulders back. Some people stare. A young woman in a captain's uniform still surprises many. She is used to it now. She does not let it bother her anymore. She meets her co-pilot in the crew room. His name is Arjun. He is older, maybe in his 50s, with gray hair at his temples. He has been flying for 30 years. When he sees her, he nods but does not smile. They have flown together before. He respects her skills but not her age. He thinks she is too young to be a captain. He has never said it out loud, but she can see it in his eyes. Every time she makes a decision, she notices him double-checking it. Every time she gives an instruction, she sees him hesitate for just a moment. It bothers her, but she understands. Trust takes time, especially in an industry where experience is measured in decades, not years. They go through the pre-flight briefing together at a small table covered with charts and weather reports. The flight is from Mumbai to Delhi. 2 hours and 15 minutes. 218 passengers. The weather looks good. Clear skies all the way. No turbulence expected. The aircraft is in excellent condition. Fresh from maintenance just last week. Everything seems routine. Just another normal day. They walk to the aircraft together through the jet bridge. The plane is a mid-sized jet, well-maintained and reliable. The ground crew is finishing their checks, walking around with clipboards and flashlights. Maya walks around the plane herself, inspecting the exterior with careful eyes. She checks the tires for wear and proper inflation. She examines the wings for any damage or loose panels. She inspects both engines, looking for leaks or anything unusual. Everything looks fine. Perfect, even. She climbs into the cockpit and settles into the left seat. The captain's seat. Her seat. She starts her checks, going through the list methodically. Switches, gauges, screens, circuit breakers. She goes through every single item on the checklist without rushing. Arjun does the same from the right seat. They do not talk much during this process. Just brief confirmations and acknowledgments. Professional but distant. The passengers start boarding. She can hear them through the cockpit door. The sound of rolling luggage bumping along the aisle. Children laughing and asking questions. People talking on their phones, saying goodbye to loved ones. a baby crying somewhere in the back. She feels the weight of responsibility settle over her again like a heavy blanket. 218 lives. 218 people with families, with dreams, with places to be. They trust her to get them home safely. They trust her completely without even knowing her name. She will not let them down. She cannot. The flight attendants complete their safety checks and close the doors with a heavy thunk. The ground crew disconnects the jet bridge and gives the all-clear signal. Maya contacts ground control and gets clearance to push back from the gate. She starts the auxiliary power unit first, then the engines one by one. The familiar hum fills the cockpit. She feels the vibration through her seat. She pushes the throttle forward slightly, and the plane begins to move backward, guided by the pushback tug. Then they are released. She takes control and taxis toward the runway. The plane moves slowly through the maze of taxiways. Other planes are moving around them. She follows the painted lines and the instructions from ground control exactly. They reach the holding point for runway 27. She stops and waits for clearance. The tower is busy. Several planes are in line ahead of them. She watches two planes take off, their engines roaring as they accelerate down the runway and lift into the sky. Finally, the tower calls their flight number. They are cleared for takeoff. She lines up the plane on the center line of the runway, making small adjustments with the rudder pedals. She checks the instruments one more time. Everything is green. Everything is perfect. She takes a deep breath and pushes the throttle to full power. The engines roar behind her. She feels the thrust push her back into her seat. The plane accelerates down the runway, faster and faster. The white lines blur together. She calls out the speeds. 100 knots, 120, 140, rotate. She pulls back gently on the control column and the nose lifts. The wheels leave the ground. They are flying! The landing gear thumps as it retracts into the belly of the plane. She pulls back more and the plane climbs into the sky at a steady angle. The city shrinks below them. Buildings become tiny boxes. Cars become ants. She feels the familiar rush of adrenaline mixed with pure joy. This never gets old. No matter how many times she does it, takeoff always feels like magic. Like defying gravity itself, they reach cruising altitude 20 minutes later. 35,000 feet, 7 miles above the Earth. The autopilot is engaged. Everything is smooth and stable. The plane is flying itself now, following the programmed route. She leans back in her seat and takes a deep breath. Her muscles relax slightly. Arjun is reading a technical manual about new procedures. The flight attendants start the beverage service in the cabin. She can hear the rattle of the cart in the aisle. Passengers settle in for the flight. Some read books or magazines. Some sleep with small pillows and blankets. Some watch movies on the seatback screens with headphones on. Children play games on tablets. It is just another flight. Routine and boring in the best possible way. But then something changes. A small beep cuts through the quiet cockpit. Maya glances at the instrument panel. A warning light is illuminated in amber. Engine number 1. Oil pressure dropping. She frowns and leans forward to look closer. This is unusual but not immediately critical. Not yet anyway. She checks the readings on the screen. The pressure is lower than it should be, but still within acceptable limits. Still in the green zone. She makes a mental note to report it to maintenance after landing. It might be a faulty sensor. That happens sometimes. Then another beep. Engine number 2. The same warning. The same amber light. Now her heart starts to beat faster. Her stomach tightens. 2 engines showing the same issue at the same time is not normal. It is not a coincidence. Something is wrong. Really wrong. Arjun notices too. He sits up straight and leans forward, his manual forgotten. They both stare at the instruments. The oil pressure in both engines is dropping. Not slowly, fast, too fast. The numbers are falling rapidly. She can see them changing in real time. She disengages the autopilot and takes manual control of the plane. The control column is now active in her hands. She contacts air traffic control and reports the issue, keeping her voice calm and professional. They acknowledge and ask if she wants to return to Mumbai. She's about to say yes when everything goes wrong at once. Both engines shut down. Complete failure. Both at the same time, the cockpit goes silent. No engine noise, no familiar hum, no vibration. Just the sound of wind rushing. The investigation takes 6 months. Engineers examine every piece of the wreckage. They take apart both engines completely. They study the maintenance records going back years. They interview everyone involved. The mechanics who serviced the plane. The engineers who designed it. The airline staff who scheduled the flights. Finally, they find the answer. Metal fatigue in both engines. A manufacturing defect in a batch of engine parts that went undetected during quality control. The parts looked fine on the outside, but had microscopic cracks inside that grew over time with each flight cycle. Both engines on this particular plane happened to have parts from the same defective batch. The cracks finally reached a critical point during this flight. Both engines failed within seconds of each other. It was not Maya's fault. It was not the airline's fault. It was not the maintenance crew's fault. Just a terrible coincidence, a 1 in a million chance. The manufacturer recalls all similar parts from every plane in the world. Changes are made to the inspection process. New regulations are written. The airline offers Maya a desk job after the investigation concludes. Safer, they say. Less stressful. You have been through enough. You deserve to rest. She turns it down politely but firmly. She goes back to flying, because that is who she is. That is what her father taught her all those years ago. The sky does not care who you are. It does not care about your age or your gender or your fears. It only cares if you are brave enough to face it. And she is brave. She proved that. Not just to the world, but to herself. Years pass. She is still flying. Still a captain. Still wearing the 4 stripes with pride. She has flown thousands of hours since that day. Every single flight lands safely. But she never forgets that day over the riverbed. She thinks about it sometimes when she is cruising at 35,000 feet with everything running perfectly. She thinks about how quickly things can change, how life can turn upside down in seconds. She thinks about the passengers she saved. She wonders where they are now. She wonders if they still think about that day too. She knows some of them do because they send her messages sometimes. Thank you letters, photos of their families. They tell her they think of her every time they fly. They tell her she gave them a second chance at life. Those messages make everything worth it. All the fear, all the pain, all the nightmares she had for months afterward. She still has bad dreams sometimes. Dreams where she cannot restart the engines. Dreams where the plane hits the ground too hard and breaks apart. Dreams where she fails and everyone dies. She wakes up sweating and shaking, but then she remembers the truth. She did not fail. Everyone lived, and that makes her the luckiest pilot in the world. Not the best, not the most skilled, just the luckiest. Because she got the chance to prove that courage is not about being unafraid. Courage is about doing what needs to be done even when you are terrified. Even when every instinct tells you to give up. Even when the odds are impossible. She teaches that lesson now to new pilots. She volunteers at flight schools. She mentors young women who want to become pilots. She tells them her story, not to brag but to inspire. She tells them that flying is not easy. That being a pilot is not just about clear skies and smooth landings. It is about being ready for the worst day of your life and still making the right decisions. It is about staying calm when everything is falling apart. It is about remembering your training when your brain is screaming at you to panic. She tells them that gender does not matter in the cockpit. Age does not matter. All that matters is skill and courage and the willingness to never give up. And if an ordinary girl from a small apartment who lost her father too young can land a dead plane in a riverbed and save 218 lives, then anyone can do extraordinary things. You just have to be brave enough to try. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.